Was Jackie Robinson really the first Negro to play in the major leagues? Moses Fleetwood Walker made his major league debut on May 1st, 1884, playing for the Toledo Blue Stockings against the Louisville Eclipse. He had been playing for the minor league Blue Stockings when the team he was added to the American Association, which became the American League.
So in actuality, Jackie Robinson did not integrate American professional sports. This is a long buried accomplishments of the Negro Jockey. A story of how they competed right alongside white jockeys, sharpening their skills, because everyone's equal on the turf and under it. In 1896, the Supreme Court handed down their decision on the case of Plessy versus Ferguson, denying rights to ex-slaves, upholding the practice of separate but equal. This opened the door for Jim Crow laws, excluding the Negro from mainstream society. The Negro jockey was not able to apply for membership at the Jockeys Guild in America. Although Arcaro had an impressive record, remember, just like in baseball and in boxing, the Negro was not allowed on the playing field. And no playing field at the time was level because of Jim Crow. The records set by Arcaro, Ruth, and others were not undisputed because everyone did not get to play. Jack Johnson became the only true heavyweight champ after he beat Jeffries and Sullivan. Before that, all white champions were pretenders to the throne. Babe Ruth never faced the Negro League's greatest pitchers like Cool Papa Bell, Josh Gibson, the greatest of them all, Satchel Paige. If Ruth and Gehrig and DiMaggio had to face these men on a level playing field, I think we'd be telling a different story. History would be different. On the playing field, dispelling all the stereotypical rumors of Negro inferiority. From Emmett Till to Medgar Evers, justice was not served or delayed. It took 35 years for the murder of Medgar Evers to be brought to justice. That means a whole generation schooled in old-time Jim Crow had to die out before justice could be served. Byron Della Beckwith went around Mississippi for years bragging about his involvement in the death of the civil rights leader. He is quoted as saying, "I don't know who killed that nigga, but that nigga sure is dead." The most notorious case of Jim Crow racism was perpetrated against the first black heavyweight champion of the world, Jack Arthur Johnson. The federal government changed laws and created new ones to restrict his movements. Jack Johnson was attracted to white women and openly pursued them and socialized with them. This high-profile Negro threatened the social order. The Johnson-Jeffries bout was the first great sporting event of the century. It mesmerized the world. This was no simple clash of men. It was a clash of elemental forces. Jim Jeffries was the great white hope. Came out of retirement to avenge the white race. Johnson dispelled all lies and stereotypes of Jim Crow. It was the first great media morality play. Johnson had captured the championship, whipped all available white talent, and thumbed his nose at the deepest values of the white populace. He was resplendent, triumphant, smiling his famous smile, and it was a golden smile, leaning on a golden walking tip cane with a blonde in each arm. Such a Negro in 1910 was obviously a threat to the social order. Such a Negro had to be defeated, humiliated, dramatically and publicly. Millions of whites felt their honor and virtues, a sense of reality depended on the outcome of this struggle that matched Johnson and Jeffries, who was said to be invincible. Since there was a legal color line, and white champions in actuality were not undisputed, since they denied black challengers, this was also the case in baseball and in thoroughbred racing. After the Civil War, Negroes encountered resistance in organized sports. In organized professional baseball, there was a definite color line. Babe Ruth changed baseball, but Jackie Robinson changed America. The first Negro to play organized professional baseball in the 20th century. The racist backlash felt by the Negro players of International League of 1887 had little to do with the league per se. It had everything to do with the national mood regarding race relations. In that year, routine subversion of civil rights laws was codified in U.S. Congress, and Grover Cleveland signed the Compromise of 1887. This lawfully and officially ended Reconstruction and removed all legal obstacles to Jim Crow in the South. By 1896, the Supreme Court in Plessy versus Ferguson maintained this legislation, its powers to eradicate racial instincts. By the law, the court articulated and made into law doctrines supporting separate but equal accommodations. Jim Crow.